afternoon, right? My name's Kim Stout. I'm working with Susquehanna SCORE from the Eastern Pennsylvania SBA District Office, and we wanted to present today what we refer to as Encore Entrepreneurs. This is a group of individuals who have decided to either retire, find a second career, just find a new way to bring revenue into their family. So this is I'm just going to cover a quick presentation, and then I'm going to hand it over to John, who's going to go into detail about business planning. But what we have found at the SBA is that there are so many people who have been working from home, running their businesses from home. And before COVID hit us about 2 years ago, there were over 16 million Americans working from home, and 52% of our U.S. companies were actually home-based businesses. So we want to help educate you and assist you that if you have the desire to become an entrepreneur or you are an entrepreneur, what steps you need to take to do so. We do have updated information. Since most of this presentation was put together before COVID, we've actually seen an increase of individuals who have wanted to start their own small business. I am kind of surprised by some of that, but when you think about what we've been through in the last 2 years, many of the individuals who were working either unfortunately lost their jobs or found that they didn't want to go back to the situations they were in their workplace. So what is referred to now as the Great Resignation is the number of people who are quitting their jobs are actually at an all-time high. 54% of the workers surveyed by ZipRecruiter in September of 2021 said they preferred a job that let them work from home. They decided to quit to pursue new career paths or their passions. They wanted a job that allowed them a work-life balance, and also to launch their own businesses. So when we thought that people were going to be more comfortable staying within a job and having that secure paycheck, we actually have been very busy in the last 2 years, having individuals reach out to us, asking us what can they do to start their small business. Why do we do it? To earn an income, to do what we are passionate about as a backup plan, but also because of the impact that we've had because of COVID, and realizing that, my job didn't allow me, that work-life balance by taking care of my children or taking care of my aging parents. This is going to allow me to start starting a business is going to allow me to have some of that flexibility that I could work towards. There's all sorts of opportunities for individuals out there. We started this workshop series because we have SCORE to help mentor you, but also next week we have an expert in franchising. So if you're trying to figure out what do I want to do or what opportunities are there, there's a list here for you on top of the screen of things that people are considering or have considered to start their small businesses. But next week we'll have FranNet here to talk about franchising and how to potentially start a franchise if that's something you're interested in. The idea of today is to really have you take a look at what your idea is, or if you don't have an idea, what stages or what you need to develop a good plan to kind of make sure that your idea is going to be viable and sustainable, and who can help you in doing so. There is opportunity for your small business if it's not something that you can do without funding. We have lots of businesses that are still getting funding from our local banks and financial institutions across the Commonwealth. We've seen positive impacts in the professions that are listed there, some limited impact, and then a negative impact on some of the industries are listed there. But we do see this kind of taking a turn as we get further into 2022 and some of our mandates are being lifted. What to do, there's a whole list there to be considered. And of course, we might not be able to do it the way that we did it prior to COVID, but there are opportunities to still continue, within these industries and see how you can maybe even pivot from the ideas of what was before COVID as to what is happening now. There's lots of resources out there, and we're going to talk about them further into the workshop today. And then in week 3, as we talk about funding and resources available to you. But we have seen that with the impact of COVID for our Encore entrepreneurs, life has become a little bit easier when it comes to communication. We don't have to go sit in front of people every day. We've been doing things like this regularly through the powers of virtual Zoom, Teams, meetup spaces, things along those lines, where we can still stay in touch with our customers and still work as diligently as possible in building our businesses. That doesn't work for everyone, for example, like a daycare, but for many of us, it is a tool that we can use to continue running our small businesses and being able to pivot from what we were doing. These are just some benefits that have come on for our Encore entrepreneurs. Why now? Do you want to leave your position that you have, or maybe you've retired? Maybe you didn't have the option, but why would this be something that you could benefit from now? Really, depending on what type of industry you go into, it's really the flexibility and freedom that you may have. Backtracking on that just a little bit though, as an entrepreneur, I had bought a restaurant. There wasn't a whole lot of flexibility and freedom in running a restaurant. But there are lots of opportunities in other industries that allow you to have the ability to have flexibility in your schedule, have some freedom to schedule yourself, maybe work in the evenings, get up early and work so that you can then take care of loved ones, or, to go do a round of golf on a nice day, things like that. But one of the biggest reasons that we have people reach out to us about starting their own business is the freedom and flexibility that they're looking for. There's lots of small businesses that are low cost for starting a business, especially if it's something out of your home. Not everybody needs a brick and mortar type of building any longer. And so, you can really start a small business with very little cost, dependent on the industry. Building your customer base as your reputation grows. There's lots of platforms to help you stay networking with individuals, LinkedIn, those types of platforms that you can connect with people. The more work that you do within the industry, hopefully your customers refer to you whenever you've done a great job, things along those lines. And of course, just with technology, everything has become a little bit easier as long as that technology is working. These are things to consider, and I don't really want to jump into them too much because John's going to be covering a lot of this in the business planning part of our workshop today. But this is just, a quick introduction of things to think about as you're developing your business plan, as you're developing your idea, to see if this is something you're able to do and start your business. And again, there's lots of rules to follow, making sure you're on track to do things. And that's also part of the business planning process. So what I want to jump to here is, just real quickly, of course, we want to thank Susquehanna SCORE for hosting us today. Susquehanna SCORE is a great chapter of mentors that's offering small business advice and mentoring and coaching to small businesses in South Central Pennsylvania. The SBA helps to support SCORE. However, they're doing the work themselves. They're volunteers. It's no cost to you. And there's great mentors that have great expert advice that can share with you and help your journey of becoming an entrepreneur with less stress than trying to do it all on your own. So I highly encourage you to reach out to SCORE, request a mentor. Maybe it will be John, maybe it will be Andy, who's also with us today. But, as a former entrepreneur, I was not aware of resources that were available to me. And this is really something that I've learned quite a bit with being with the SBA, is how important it is to have that mentor, and the advice that we're going to get today from John and from the other mentors as we continue down this journey. So With that, John, I'll turn it over to you, and I'll stick around for questions at the end. So thank you.
Okay, you stop sharing and then I'll share. Good, thank you. And let's see if I can get this correct. Technology, you know. How's that look? Can you see?
Good here. Yep, I can see it.
All right. So I'm going to open up my chat and I'm going to try to monitor the chat with questions. But also we'll answer them at the end. So again, welcome. Thanks for joining us today. I hope I can help. The title of this is Business Planning, Critical Questions and Information that you will need. Just a little bit about my story. I've been a mentor now for 13 years. Even when I was working, I just retired a couple years ago. And I'm like you, I'm an Encore entrepreneur. I opened up my own consulting business. Now, I was fortunate enough to save, and I do have a small pension. So it's not like I'm trying to grow the business. It's not my main source of revenue. It's just really to fulfill my passion. And again, passion's a key word, because if you're going to start a business, it really needs to be about, especially in the 50+ Encore entrepreneurship, got to be passionate about it. And I'm sure you are. But I started it as an LLC. And we'll talk a little bit about structure. But I got to set the ground rule here. Each one of your businesses are unique. So I'm going to talk general today. Try to be as specific as possible in some areas, but that's why we ask you to, hey, come to Susquehanna Score, and there'll be a link at the end that I'll show you. And I've already provided you with some reference material. Kim Kennedy should have sent all of you that registered the files that I'm going to refer to. All right, so hopefully you have that. But I can't give specific business advice to your business, but that's what SCORE is for. Or sometimes if SCORE doesn't have the expertise, we refer you to SBDC, the Small Business Development Centers, and they refer some of their clients to SCORE. So you have a plethora of resources. The SBA, Kim, Kelly Bowers is going to be on next week for FranNet for looking at franchising. It depends on your specific needs. So let's get into the little bit of details here. So before you start a business plan, I don't know if some of you are like this, but let me just say some clients come in, and one client came into me and said, you know, I want to start my own business, but then I really want to get someone else to run it for me so I don't have to work so hard. Well, some of you are probably smiling. And I was smiling too. I'm saying, listen, if you're passionate about something and you're going to work, you know, you really got to put the time in, and you got to be ready. You're not going to be able to just give it to someone else because they may not have the same passion and they don't have the vision that you do. So before you start a business plan, you got to be careful the mentality you go into it. So you can see some of these questions, and I've highlighted a few. We tell our clients now, you realize that owning your own business may entail working 12 to 16 hours, 6 days a week, maybe 7. And holidays, you don't get paid if you don't work in your own business. Now, some come to us and say, well, I still work and make money. Is that a good time? Can I work my side business on the side? Absolutely. That's the best because you have benefits, you have income, but you also got to be careful. Some companies required you to sign something when you started there with them. And you've got to make sure you don't have any kind of stipulations on, you know, if you're starting a competitive product, or if you use stuff that you generated from your business, you can't use it in your small business, you know, for the paid business that you're in. So you just got to be careful. But to me, that's a great way of doing it, starting your business on the side when you are making revenue and you have benefits. Do you have your own money to start your business? I told you in my case, I'm not trying to grow this, but you know, that's an important question, because if you need money, this business plan workshop is a requirement. And getting with a SCORE mentor, in my opinion, is a requirement, because you're going to need a business plan to go get a bank loan. Now, in this time of COVID, there were a lot of grants available, more grants than I've ever seen. But that's not the case anymore. There's a few grants out there, but they're hard to get because there's a lot of people asking for them. So really the funding that you need for your business is probably going to come from you, your friends and family for the most part, unless you have some investors, but then that gets into a whole other thing about equity share and those kind of things. I always tell my clients, if you ever watched Shark Tank, you'll know what I'm talking about. If you haven't and you're starting a business, go in and watch Shark Tank. The first questions they ask always about financing and funding, how much you make, who are your competitors, that kind of stuff. Are you prepared to lower your standard of living for several months or years? Now, this is if you actually don't have a job and you are starting your own business. You just got to be ready for that. Do you enjoy competition? Because you're depending on the industry you get in. Again, I'm talking general, but it really depends on that. If you thrive on competition, because you're going to have competition. And I'm going to talk a little later about how competition can help you. Do you know which skills and areas of expertise are critical to the success of your project or your business or your product or your services? And do you have those skills? And as you grow, will you be able to find personnel that have the expertise you lack? Those are all things that you have to consider. And you can read the other questions. So let me ask you a question, everyone. Are you ready? You still want to do a business? You stay on? I'm assuming you still do. If you don't, that's okay. Do some more planning and do some more research to determine whether you're ready. So let's talk about the business plan. Now, you could be like this cartoon. Here's your business plan. Start a business, make lots of money. Well, it looks like this guy is showing his mom because she says, it's a simple plan. I like it. It's just kind of like the American Idol, right? You have these bad singers and they come on TV. Why? Because their friends and families aren't honest with them. So that's why a SCORE mentor or an SBDC mentor, counselor, consultant can help you. But what is a business plan? Well, it's a written plan. It's a roadmap. It is a roadmap for your business. It outlines your vision and mission, which turns that vision and mission you have turn into tactical goals and objectives. And it documents at a higher level the plan that you have on how to achieve your goals. Now, let's talk about the length of the business plan. Because the toughest business plan is that last one I have shown on the screen. When you need investors or financing, you're going to need a very, very thorough business plan. It could be upwards of 40 pages. And the financing section, the vision and mission is critical. You have to get across your passion. And I'm going to talk a little bit about this. You should have got the How to Really Start a Business from Kim. And Stellar Academy, there's a business plan there that I'm going to talk to give you an example as we go through this. So if you have them available, you can get them open. But you really need to have detailed financials, detailed business plan for banks. But you look at me, as I told you, I'm a one-person consultant, management consultant. I also teach at eTown in their business department because that's my passion. I want to pass on my failures, and I had a lot of them, and I want to pass on my successes to the future leaders. But I want to help small businesses. That's why I do what I do for SCORE. And that's why I'm here to help you. I have a one-page business plan. Why, John? Why do you want to put? I wanted a business plan that just, why am I in this business? And then sometimes if you get down, you can refer back to your business plan and say, oh, that's why I started this. Because I have a passion to help people. I have a passion to help others. And I want to get more businesses because we all know small businesses. And when you start your small business, that's the foundation of the U.S. economy. So you can have a one-page business plan. You can have a lean business plan, 5 to 10 pages. It's okay. It's depending on what you need for your business if you don't need financing. But if you need financing, that last one is really critical. And we're going to walk through this. So no, you can't start a business and make lots of money. You got to go into more detail than that. So why do you need a business plan? I kind of talked about it. Let's go over a little bit more. you're really exploring your business opportunities and your idea. But you also should look at your future. Again, we're going to kind of focus on if you need investment or you need a bank loan. You got to put some future financial performance and you got to predict it. And I'm going to give you a tool that you can use from score.org to do that. It helps you to make informed decisions because remember, you're going to document your vision, your mission, why you're in there. It's going to give you clarity on your business. All right. You got to be focused on a niche that you're going to provide. It's all about features and benefits of what your business is going to provide, whether it's a product or whether it's a service. It's going to help you establish short-term and long-term goals. Now, I will tell you, these are going to change over time. But when you're first doing your business plan, document them. Document them. In fact, on score.org, there's some webinars that I did. One is a vision and mission and how to guarantee the success or increase the probability of you meeting your goals and objectives. I recommend you search for that and watch it. It's really very simple. You can increase your probability to 50 to 80% of reaching your goals by just documenting them and sharing them with others. That is a proven fact. It helps you look at more or seek business investment. That's where the bank comes in or your investors. And it does help you record and present your business information in a logical fashion. Again, to a bank or to an investor. Those are why you need a business plan. So what do you need to think about? Well, I'm sure you're already thinking out there, aren't you? You know, you're thinking of, okay, I'm passionate about this. I had a client come to me and they were passionate about, you know, granola and nuts, and you could see it. And when we put his business plan together, it was very clear that he was passionate about that, about the healthy living and healthy eating. And that's kind of what he was working on from his idea. Then his vision and mission kind of conveyed that. And again, we'll go through that. But you also got to think of all these things: pricing, who's your team if you're going to have a team, or you're going to be yourself. So where does this fit in your overall business? So let's talk about that for a second. I'm going to talk to you today about a business plan process. But every business does what we call in-business strategic management process. So if you think you're going to do a business plan one time, that's not true. You're going to do that. But as you are in business, this is your internal business strategic management process. I teach this at eTown, and this is a fact. I did it in my business. I led a multi-billion-dollar business area, and I did this every year and sometimes, and I looked at it quarterly, by the way. Now, you're not going to have a multi-billion-dollar, but I did it when I had a couple $1 million business. So this is important to think about. And if you want to know more about it, go on score.org and you can search for the SWOT webinar or the Vision Mission webinar. But this business plan that we're going to be talking today does feed that. Okay? It's really to help your strategic planning process. So let's talk about your business plan process overview here. This is what you got sent to you if you registered for this. This is what was sent to you via email. It's a great booklet, in my opinion. I use it with every client that's in this mode, in their business planning process mode. You may not know, but Susquehanna SCORE serves 5 counties: York, Adams, Harrisburg, Dauphin, Cumberland, and Perry. And we help people that are in business looking to grow their business, people that are exiting their business, but also, like you all, are starting a business or looking into starting a business. It steps you through the process. And here's kind of the outline, the idea: pin down a company name. Some like to use their names. I don't recommend that because, you know, a lot of times small businesses don't succeed. And do you want your name associated with that? Again, it's up to you. But I want to talk a little bit about choosing your structure, because that's really important. And I'm going to cover that. We talked about funding. We're going to talk a little bit more about funding, but let me just give you a kind of a summary here or give you an example. Because some people say, okay, John, how long does this process take? I want to start today. Well, if you just started your planning today, I'm telling you, I don't recommend that. It could take 6, 9, 12 months. But I'll give you an example to bring home my point. Had a client, got an inheritance from her grandfather. She wanted to start a candy store. It was near a baseball field. She thought it would be great. But the landlord said, oh my God, I got 5 other people waiting. You better come first. I'll hold it for you, but you got a day to decide. She came in. I said, you just started your planning. Don't do it. He doesn't necessarily have 5 other people behind you. Don't do it. Focus on your planning first. Well, you don't have to listen to your mentor. She didn't listen. She got in it, and then 2 months later, I heard that it was shut down. And I felt bad for her. But, I tell all my clients, we're here to tell you what you need to hear, not what you want to hear. Kind of like the American Idol story, right? Your mom and dad's going to love you. Your wife's going to love you, but they may not totally be honest with you. So this is kind of the process overview that we're going to just kind of discuss in this document. Fill it out. And if you decide to get a mentor, fill it out before you go in to your mentoring session, because the mentor will ask some of these questions and you will have them all ready for you. Now, you heard Kim say, lock in your location. A lot of times, like mine is from home, and that's okay. Brick and mortar seems to be going away for some things. Not a restaurant, of course. Not if you want to sell a product that you have a certain location where that's where that product will be sold. Of course not. And so on and so forth. These are that's just the overview of the process. But I want to kind of focus on the structure for one slide here. Do I have any questions? Okay. Here's the different ways to organize your business. C Corp, S Corp, limited liability company, general partnership, or sole proprietorship. I'm not going to go into each one of these. This is where it's going to depend on what you want to do. Because we advise you to really consult a small business attorney and a tax accountant for additional information that what's best suited for you. But your mentor will help you talk through and ask you some questions and get you prepared for those sessions. Now, I will tell you that most of our clients become an LLC. Why? Because it's the easiest way. I started with an LLC. It's easy for me to separate my personal assets from my business assets. And for tax purposes, it all goes into my one tax. So it's easy. But I know some, like I have an artist client that it's only her and she wanted to be a sole proprietorship. You can see the check marks of what each one brings to the table. And again, depending on what you want, it could change. So let's talk about the business plan outline. I want to give you 2 examples. This one is in that PDF file that Kim Kennedy sent you if you registered. And this is the one I'm going to use to walk through in this slide presentation. But here's another one I found on the internet. You can kind of see both have executive summaries, as you can see over here. One has business description, one has company description. The market and competition, then that's under marketing plan over here. So it's okay. Either way you want to do it, you can find them. But they have some key elements that are all the same. So let's step through the outlines. And if you want to get your Stellar Academy still in business, the Stellar Academy file, it's a PowerPoint file, I believe, that I sent. I will refer to that. The executive summary is a brief introduction, 1 to 2 pages to your business plan, describing the business, the problem that you solve for your customer, your target market, your key objectives and goals, and your financial highlights at a summary level. That's why it's called an executive summary. Let me read what the Stellar has. And by the way, Stellar Academy is still in business. This business plan was done in 2005. I refer to you in the back, I reference the book that I got it out of. And you can go stellaracademy.com. There is a stellaracademy.org. That's not the one. This is stellaracademy.com, still in business. And here's what they say in their executive summary. They kind of divide it up. The goal of Stellar Academy is to provide high quality, center-based childcare learning to the Bridgewater Branchburg area. Dynamic, different, dedicated, and in demand. They further go into dynamic. Stellar Academy's competitive edge is its unique view of children and their developing minds. Our education director has a PhD in education with expertise in brain-based learning and child development. She has won many accolades for her knowledge and dedication to children. She's been named Teacher of the Year, and they go into that. They talk different. And there was some proprietary information deleted from this, of course. And it said different. This cutting edge perspective puts Stellar Academy at the forefront of child care providers. They talk about their dedicated staff in their executive summary. We're also dedicated to keeping our parents stress-free. We offer a secure website that enables parents to access webcams, emails, online digital photographs of their child's day of learning. We offer classes to educate our parents on the best techniques to promote their child's mental well-being and growth. And that's just a part of it. Let me ask you a question, everyone. Would you send your kids to this school? Does it make you kind of say, hey, this is pretty cool? Would it make a bank see their passion and give them money? Not sure yet, but it's a pretty good start. So I hope that gives you an idea of the executive summary. Now, the company description / overview. This is just, an overview of the most important points about your company. Stellar Academy kind of did it in their executive summary, and then they kind of go in and break that out a little bit. But whatever way you choose to do it, this is just a kind of a template that you can use, and you can modify it. But the company description and overview explains your history, any location, your vision and mission statement. I told you, look at that webinar online, and kind of what your legal structure is. That's kind of what you're looking for a company description and overview. Pretty clear. Let me spend some time on this one. The market and the competition. Very important to know the market that you're in, and you need to be ready to describe the unique differentiators of your company or your product or your service. And it's going to outline how you are going to gain market share based on your discriminators. Think of features and benefits for your customers. And then you should identify your competitors and their uniqueness. Look down here in this one little thing you've got, talking to the teddy bear here. Apparently this is a lawyer. You've got the beginning is a great business plan, but you need to go into more detail about how we're going to knock the stuffing out of your competitors. Got to be a little bit more detailed than that. Now, let's kind of talk about this a little bit from your competitor's perspective, okay? So you can get a lot of information from your competitors. I had a client, and I'm going to give you examples here to hopefully bring home my point. So sorry, my grandson's here. I don't know if you can hear him in the background here. I apologize for that. But this one client came to me and said, well, I want to open up a business, but I see our competitors in town and no one offers alcohol. And I know that if I offer alcohol, that's going to be a differentiator. So I asked her, I said, okay, sounds good. Do you think there's a reason why they don't offer alcohol? She goes, I don't know, they should though. Do you know how much it costs to get an alcohol license in Pennsylvania? It's a lot of money. It's probably the reason why. So you have to look at that. And then she changed her idea and her approach to do something on a mobile basis versus having a brick and mortar store. So that right there, you can learn from your competitors. So that's kind of the things you can learn, and be careful what you make judgments on and what separates you apart. Another thing you can do though, you can learn a lot from your competitors. I can't tell you how many clients I've said, hey, that they want a brick and mortar store. Go park by your competitors and go park where the location you're looking at. Look at the foot traffic. Doesn't cost you anything, but maybe some time and some gas money for your car. Of course, now gas money is a lot of money. So think about that. Look at and learn, get research done. Do research for your competitors. You can see all the foot traffic, and then you can look at your location you're looking at, and you'll see. Go online. Find out what your competitors are doing. You can check prices. You can call them and say you're a prospective client or customer and you want to find out their information. If they're willing to give it to you, you got it. These are some things you can do to set your own prices. And why are prices important? Remember I told you in the business plan, you need to focus or you need to do some projections of your financials. Guess what that's driven on? In some cases, depending on your service or product, how many customers you have and what your prices are. You got to look at your costs and see if you're making a profit. So those are some things where you can learn about your competitors and to help you grow or project your financials for your business plan. So let's go to our example of Stellar Academy. On page 10 of Stellar Academy on this PowerPoint that I sent you, or that Kim sent you, Stellar Academy offers the following competitive advantages. Cutting-edge curriculum written by an expert in the field of education utilizing the latest advances in brain-based learning. Innovative environment. Now they had some proprietary information removed. I don't know what that was. Child-center philosophy. Technology-enhanced communication network. Highly trained and knowledgeable staff, and experienced goal-oriented management team. And they go into this cutting-edge curriculum. The latest research on how the brain functions has created a new understanding in how we learn. We have learned more about the brain and its capacity in the last 10 years than in the 100 years preceding. Using technology such as magnetic resonance imaging and positron emission tomography, scientists are capable of watching the human brain as it performs tasks and learning. And they go on. You know, they talk about innovative environment, a principal ideal of brain-based learning states. Teachers need to orchestrate the immersion of the learner in interactive experiences that are both rich and real. You getting my point? See how they're looking, how they're positioning themselves? I think I'm further getting involved in why Stellar Academy got the money they needed and they're still in business. Because I checked in that woman that's still in charge of this business. So think about it. And by the way, remember I told you if you're thinking you want to just get in and then have someone else run it? She didn't. Because she knows she's the expert. She has a passion. And when it's a passion, it's not necessarily a job. Hope you're getting the gist of this. Again, please feel free to use the chat, ask questions, or save them to the end. Of course, the product or services, that's pretty simple. You know, in my case, I'm a management consultant, so it's a service. I know I have some clients that are catering and they have a product and a service. And then I know of some clients that sell apparel and they have a product. So you just explain that in your business plan. And now you get into marketing plan and selling. You know, you're going to have to, I have clients that have to execute their companies, do the day-to-day, but also have to sell and do the marketing. And it's hard. It really is hard. And some don't take money, some take money. I have a client that doesn't have a lot of money. He's a 64-year-old gentleman, all right? Doesn't have a lot of money. He's trying to build up his business so he could sell it, all right? And we were, talking about ways of doing it. Now, social media, there's some you can do free, but a lot of times you have to pay, to get up on the search engine optimization. That's SEO, if you haven't heard that. To get up on when you do a Google search, there's people that get up in the top because they pay for that in a lot of cases. But you can do that on Facebook. Facebook's a great tool. But in this case, we decided to just do some flyers and walk around the neighborhood. He was a landscaping business, just so you know, and walk around the neighborhood. That was the least amount of cost, but it targeted the area he wanted to target, and it got it out. Hey, I'm in your area, and some of you probably get this all the time because I get it all the time here at my house. I'm in your area offering everyone a discount. So that's kind of the things you have to look at. And there's things that you can use your data from, your SWOT, your competitive analysis, your pricing strategy. All these things go into how you can market. So for example, if you know you have a niche that your competitor doesn't have, that's what you're going to emphasize in anything that you do, in those little flyers you hang on the doorknobs, or in your on your Facebook page, or in your marketing, your social media marketing. Your SWOT analysis. And if you don't know what a SWOT analysis, again, search that on there's a webinar on that. It's called Strengths, Weaknesses, Opportunities, and Threats. It's a 4-quadrant box that I use that you identify your strengths as a business, not necessarily as a person. Strengths, weaknesses, the opportunities, and the threats, right? So I'll give you an example. What is a threat? Well, let's use Starbucks. Starbucks has all these small coffee shops around that are starting. They're a threat to the Starbucks business. But let me go on the other side in the small business. In York, Pennsylvania, we have the Brown, I think it's called the Belmont Bean Coffee Shop. How can they differentiate themselves from Starbucks? Well, they have local pastries they get from local artisans, right? They have different flavors like peanut butter. Believe it or not, they have peanut butter. I haven't tried that one yet. So they've looked at their competition being a Starbucks or other coffee houses, all right? And they try to differentiate themselves. And they probably looked at their SWOT and said, well, I can't compete with Starbucks, but how can I get some business? I can do local pastries from artisans, and I can offer different flavors, unique flavors. You should know what your customers want and are willing to pay. Give you another example. I had an artist client. Well, I don't know what to charge. So I said, well, are there artists that you don't compete with, like in Baltimore? She goes, yeah. I said, well, why don't you search them out and ask them? I mean, I can tell you the 4 most powerful words is, I really need your help. Or can you help me? Those are things that anyone usually will respond, as long as they're not in your area and they're not competing directly to you. So you can also use trade associations, right? Go to trade associations in the industry that you have. And they have, a lot of times they'll have studies on what people charge. So these are some ideas and some things that you got to think about when you're going to identify what your marketing plan is and how you're going to sell your services. And of course, you should have a management structure. Now let's talk about this for a second. I'm not talking you start in your business and you're going to have you're not going to be able to afford a whole bunch of people, right? All right, unless you have a business that you get the funding and you can do that. But what we're talking here is your SCORE mentor can be on your management board, or can be your management mentor for you, and they'll help you. Your banker, your lawyer, your accountant, SBDC, consultants. All of those are in this area of the business plan that you write, right? If it's just you, that's fine. You put your name, but if you have others, like I know a client that has her friend is helping her with accounting. There's no reason why, if you get their permission, to say, hey, I have this accountant that gives me advice. I have this, SCORE mentor that gives me advice. Nothing wrong with that and putting that in your business plan. And then, of course, it includes any stockholders or employees that you have. But I also want to say this to all of you. Getting ahead of myself. Include whether you're a small disadvantaged business, a women-owned business, a nonprofit. That's also in this section, or could be in your company. It would be in your company description. But I want to give you an example, because you ought to take advantage of it. If you're a Black male, take advantage of a minority-owned business. I had a couple, a man and a woman, that came to me, and he was the president of the company. And as we were talking, I found out she was a military veteran. What do you think I advised him? Think about it. Make her the president. Be a a military-owned business. There are large businesses that are looking for these types of businesses because they have targets inside of their companies. I know my company did. X% of our supplier business should be with small disadvantaged business, hub zone businesses, women-owned businesses, Black-owned businesses, Hispanic-owned businesses. They did have those goals. So take advantage of that. There's nothing wrong with that. And that should be in your business plan. That'll help. Now we're going to get into financial data. And I'm sorry I have to be general here. It really depends on your type of business. But if you need financing from a bank or investors, you better get involved. You know, like this, not like this, this cartoon. Your plan to get financing isn't a bad one, but I think we need something a little more up to date than plundering and pillaging nearby villages. You know, you're going to have to be very detailed in this section, including your competition and your pricing. Many templates exist. You can start at sba.gov or score.org, but let me just give you some things to think about. Money you have and how much you need. You'll need to break it up in what you need to start up and then what you will need to continue. What's your balance sheet? Your revenues, your expenses, your assets, your liabilities, whether you're making a profit or loss. And by the way, most businesses, small businesses, don't make a profit for a couple years. That's okay to show a bank. Be honest. They want honesty. They want honesty. So you have to show that. A cash flow. Cash is king. You know, you can have all the revenue in, but if you don't have your accounts payable and your accounts receivable, all that stuff outlined, and knowing whether you have available cash available to you while you're running your business, and you can't show that, that's a problem. And as I mentioned, the profit and loss, you got to look at your break-even analysis. And I'll tell you, it's okay to have that. It's okay to show a loss at first. Banks will be okay with that. As long as you have a proper plan and how it shows your upward revenue generation and how you're going to sell your product, how you're going to beat your competitors. Hope that makes sense. And here's a simple way to start. I just like to give this to people because, oh yeah, Kim put out in their chat, to be certified as a disadvantaged women-owned business or veteran, the person has to have at least 51% ownership. Thanks, Kim. That's a great point. And that's what we did actually for that couple. The woman became the 51% owner. Interesting, huh? So here's a simple way to start. And I do this because we're not all math geniuses and we're not all accountants. And I do this with my clients. And I'll show you on this next slide, there's a simple 3-year profit projection template from SCORE. You list all your imaginable expenses or costs for your business. Operating costs, not startup costs. This is operating costs. Understand your customers, your demographics, the need for your product and services, what the customer motivations are. What, you know, is your business going to be required to have people spend discretionary spending? That means the funding they have that they can spend on anything. Now with gas prices up, discretionary spending for those people that travel a lot, discretionary spending has gone down. Do a competitive analysis on who your competitors are and what they charge for their service. Whether it's $1 per hour or $1 for a specific product or service, and determine the dollar per customer that you will need if you can. Some of this is simple math. I'm telling you, it's simple math, right? Simple math. So if you need, if you need $1,000 a month to make ends meet, and you charge $10 for your product, you need 100 customers to meet that. Does that make sense? Simple math, not hard, not hard. All right. And with the data above, you fill out your products and services you need to sell or customers you need to get to cover those costs, like I just said. This is just a simple break-even analysis, not a real detailed break-even analysis. That's why we tell you, go to an accountant and work through those things. And by the way, we have in SCORE and SBDC, we have people that can walk you through QuickBooks and can walk you through those detailed financials. Play with the numbers to determine the viability of your idea and business, and then you may need to develop a pricing strategy for more complicated businesses. And I'm not going to go into that, but there is a backup slide that if you need this, we'll have Kim send it out to you afterwards, this presentation. Here's that 3-year projection form. Again, you list all your expenses, you put in your sales, your revenues, and it'll give you the profit and loss, and you can do it out for 3 years. So just as a sample template. And then, of course, you have appendices in your business plan. You know, it's supporting documents. You know, maybe it's your detailed SWOT analysis, your detailed competitive analysis, what you did. Like, for instance, you can write down, I parked in this parking lot 7 days or 20 days in the last month, looked at the foot traffic, I counted 50, you know, whatever. That's all good stuff as appendices. Any advertising materials or brochures, like that one landscaping client I talked to you about, you know, he showed a picture of his, you know, the flyers he was going to hang on doors. You know, maps, copies of leases or contracts if you're in that, and so on and so forth. Let's see, there's a question. Oh, what is the address for the store? I live near Hershey. And I see that Susquehanna.score.org is the website. And if you need to email us, it's Susquehanna at scorevolunteer.org. And I guess my email address is john.tile@scorevolunteer.org. But I prefer you going to Susquehanna.score.org, hit find a mentor. I think I'm coming up on that slide here. Let me, let me just do this right here. www.score.org, find a mentor, put in your zip code, and then it'll get you to us, and then put in details that you need. So if you need financial analysis help, put that in, and then we can match you with the proper mentor that has the financial analysis knowledge. Here's some examples. I shared with you the Stellar Academy. I give you this website. They do want to charge you for a detailed one. I don't recommend that. You can do it yourself, but there's some samples there for different industries. You can see here, accounting, insurance, compliance, clothing and fashion business plans. They just give you some templates to use. And then I shared with you that already. And that's from the Complete Idiot's Guide to Business Plans Plus by Gwen Moran and Sue Johnson from Alpha Publishing. Had a CD with a bunch of plans in it that you can use. And last but not least, you don't have to do this alone. You don't have to do this alone. There's a whole bunch of resources around the area. You know, chambers of commerce and economic development corporations. You know, the Harrisburg Chamber and Creedic, York County Economic Alliance, SBDC, SBA, you know, SCORE. We are here to help. And 99% of the time it's free. So take advantage of that. You can do this. You can do this. Your business plan will help you to make sure you get to be open. And this is thank you. And hopefully we can help you be successful.